Welcome to another SOP video for managed service providers. Today I want to talk about cleaning up client data at your office. So you probably have lots of data related to specific clients and their specific configurations. Some of this falls into the category of privacy and sensitive information. That's all cool. You know, there's a lot of laws around that, but a lot of this just has to do with being a good manager of your client's information. So let's talk about a few different kinds of information. The first one is client-specific data. So this includes your contract. You have a contract with the client. It's got their name and their address and other information on there. Might have a signature that's got some value. You may also have their credit card information or ACH information. Where is that stored? Again, there are laws about this, and there are more laws than there were a month ago, and way more than there were a year ago, and way more than there were 5 years ago. So make sure you're up to spec and make sure you are legal with regard to how you manage that kind of personal information. There are little policies that you would put into the front office procedures that can make your life a lot easier. One of them is scan it and shred it, and then burn it, and then bury it. Basically, don't have stuff that exists in physical format if you can avoid it. I sold my last IT business about 4 years ago now, and I still have stuff in storage that I'm paying for secure storage until I have the opportunity to take it, scan what needs to be scanned, and shred everything. At some point, everything that exists in the physical world can be compromised. I'm not saying it will, but, you know, just why take a chance? Especially, some of you have clients who still pay with checks and you have canceled checks sitting around. Shred it, forget it. When in doubt, throw it away, but again, shred it first. So there's a lot of that stuff. You need to have good policies. There needs to be a path where something enters your system, you do what you need to do, and then it is destroyed, or at a minimum, scanned into an electronic format so it can be encrypted and stored in a way that only you can get to it. But also, remember, old stuff has less value than new stuff. So if you've got old contracts, old canceled checks, it's probably best to just get rid of them. A second kind of information that we have is actually stored inside hardware we've removed from clients' offices. The single most obvious case is hard drives, whether they're on laptops or in scanners or whatever. If you've got a hard drive that you've taken out of a client's office, you really need to figure out how you're going to nuke it, destroy it, make sure that that data is not recoverable by anybody under any circumstances. But that's not the only thing. You may also have firewalls that have a configuration that hasn't changed. And so if you think about it, if somebody could compromise that, they would know the IP address allocation within the client's office. They would probably have some idea what kind of passwords you use, right? What rules, which ports are open and where they point to. Clearly there's some potential problems with that hardware. So just think about whenever you remove hardware from a client's office, what's the policy, what's the procedure to make sure that gets cleaned in a timely fashion. I never reuse old hardware. I think it's a curse that causes people hours and hours and literally hundreds of hours of wasted time over the course of their career. And I just opted out of that many years ago. But I know lots of people do reuse and in fact sell old client systems. I don't recommend that, but if you do it, you need to have a good solid process to guarantee that that information has been removed. And again, sometimes it's with machines that you don't suspect, like a scanner or a printer. If it's got a copy of every document that's ever gone through that document management system, you need to know that and you need to nuke it. Finally, the third kind of client data that you have in your systems is all the data that's in your PSA and your RMM, data about which patches have been applied, the names of all their computers, the IP addresses of all their computers, right? All that information of how you get into their system, that needs to be secured. If your PSA is not secure, that's your problem, and you need to make sure you take care of it. You know, some of the attacks that we've seen for ransomware recently have been specifically targeted towards PSAs and RMMs. There's going to be more of that. That's not going away. So make sure that you take care to secure that information. And again, I think one of the rules that you can have is to have a minimal viable configuration that's recorded in the system. Make sure that you only keep the information you actually really need to have. There's a sample policy in Volume 3 of the Managed Services Operations Manual that basically says, when we get client data, here's what we do, here's how we manage it, here's how we handle it. It's just a few paragraphs, but it's a sample, so if you need something to get you started, check out Volume 3 of the Managed Services Operations Manual. No matter what you do, make sure you have some policy and make sure that your technicians and your front office follow that policy. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Polachuk, wishing you the best of luck in your managed service business. Here's your checklist for this video. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends, ring that bell to make sure you don't miss anything, and visit us at sopforsmb.com.